concrete island in the middle of the street in this town. There aren't street lights, there aren't stoplights. No one seemed to be taking these guys very seriously. It seemed to me that they fulfill some sort of pseudo-function, but nothing that was really very obvious. More than anything else, they seemed to stand very proud in their uniforms. The marketplace here seems to fulfill a few functions. On the one hand, it's where people come to buy their daily food and supplies. The supplies that are on these little makeshift entrepreneurial stands in these marketplaces are certainly not filled with goods. You see, for example, a pile of lemons. You see a small pile of potatoes. You see a lot of kerosene and petrol. On the other hand, it's where people come to congregate, to tell stories, to catch up on what they know is happening in the war, and I think just sort of to find some solace in being with one another. Just about everybody, certainly every adult male, has some kind of weapon, whether it's a Kalashnikov or an AK-47 or some kind of antiquated rifle, and they sort of casually walk through the town, through the marketplace, with these various weapons slung over their shoulders. He was saluting, I think it's as much as anything a sort of a form of acknowledgement of me as an outsider and sort of a statement of welcome to me. All of the schools have been shut down in function of the war. You see kids in the streets milling around the marketplace, playing. Kids seem to be kids everywhere. Of all of my travels, I've never encountered a culture that enjoys being photographed as much as the Kurds. These people have just had such a long experience with hardship and with war that they're not particularly worried, or if in fact it is their way of dealing with the particular anxiety of the moment.
So, you want to open a checking account?
Yes, but I don't want to pay for it.
Right. And you want online banking?
Right, if it's free.
And unlimited online bill paying?
I don't want to have to pay for that either. No.
So you want total security protection on your check card, free?
Look, I just don't think I should have to pay for any of it.
Neither do we.
Free checking plus with direct deposit from Bank of America. Higher standards.
Martin, please, come in. Everyone know Martin from IT, the guy who linked all our applications together? What, no chair? Okay. Anyone whose department didn't make a 170% return on investment last quarter, step back from the table. Grab a seat, Martin.
System upgrade. What happens when the technology you invest in actually makes you money? Novell.
CNN puts you alongside the troops.
We are here just behind the front line. We need the Iraqi forces. Down.
More reporters in the region to keep you informed. No one gets you closer than CNN, the most trusted name in news.
I'm Darren Kagan, live in Kuwait City. It is just after 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. The big news here this hour is the first Iraqi missile to strike Kuwait's capital since the war began. As you're going to have a chance to see, the Chinese-made missile ripped up a pier. The shockwave barreled through a nearby shopping mall, but Kuwait City wasn't the only regional capital under fire overnight. Take a look at Baghdad several hours ago, 1 a.m. local time. Coalition bomb. A coalition bomb struck at or near the Iraqi Information Ministry. And this is what it looks like in Baghdad right now on Saturday morning. Last night, Iraqi officials said that another coalition bomb killed at least 52 people in a residential area of the Iraqi capital on Friday. The U.S. military says it is still assessing what happened. And Central Command reports that British forces surrounding the port city of Basra called in airstrikes by 2 U.S. F-15s. The target, they said, a building where an estimated 200 militiamen loyal to Saddam Hussein were meeting. There are new reports about journalists missing in Iraq today. Italian television reports that 7 newspapermen from that country were seized by Iraqi police, and they are now being held in the embattled city of Basra. At least 6 other journalists, 3 Arabs and 3 Americans, are also still missing. The UN Security Council today gave Secretary General Kofi Annan a green light to resume the UN oil for food swaps in Iraq. About $2.5 billion worth of aid has been freed up. Now it's up to Annan to decide whether it's safe to bring it into Iraq. To the northwest of Iraq, a jet that took off from Turkey was hijacked overnight. It landed in Athens, Greece. The 6-hour ordeal ended when 196 passengers were freed, followed by the crew. Turkish officials said the hijacker surrendered after demanding to go to Germany, where his mother and sister had previously been arrested. Right now, the latest in our ongoing coverage of the war with Iraq continues with Aaron Brown. Aaron?
Darren, thank you. Good morning. It's a lot changed since we last talked to you in Kuwait. Have you had a chance to be out and about at all? Do you have any feel for how the missile last night changed people's feelings there?
Have not had a chance. As I mentioned, it's just 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. That, by the way, is like Monday morning here in Kuwait City, since the weekend is like Thursday, Friday. But I can tell you, I was out and about shooting some stories yesterday afternoon. In fact, we were even at that mall that was hit just hours before it was hit. I would imagine that the mood of the Kuwaiti people will change very much. It had become very lax, feeling very secure, people feeling like the first 1 or 2 days was the dangerous time and that they were able to let down their guard. I think last night's missile attack will change some attitudes around here in Kuwait, Aaron.
Yeah, I think it very much will. Do you have one of the morning papers yet? Did it make the front page of the paper, or did it happen too late?
Do not have our papers yet. We're working on getting that. We will get back to you on that, all right?
Okay, thank you very much. Darren Kagan, who's got the update duty and helps us understand the situation in Kuwait as well. This is Baghdad right now. We have reports that within the last half hour or so there was an explosion, or there were explosions in the city. We couldn't see it, but we were able to hear them, and if we have that tape we could probably play it now. So somewhere outside the city, the business of war is going on. We're waiting on, let me tell you, we're waiting on one of our embeds, Art Harris, who's with the Marine unit in one of the significant fights so far. We're trying to get him on the telephone, but also General Reuters is now reporting the U.S. commanders have ordered a pause between 4 to 6 days in the northward push because, as I read this really quickly, they have supply issues and they need to get, am I right here, they need to get supplies to the front.
I think that's true, but we talked about this the other night. We talked about setting the force, and in reality there was always going to have to be something like this, because the force has to get there, it has to do the reconnaissance, it has to build up its stocks to do the offensive. You've got people in some units, a few in the Marine units who were wounded. You're going to get some replacements in for those units. I think the Marines have had the toughest time because they're going through the more populated areas, and they have that zone between the Tigris and the Euphrates, which has got tougher resistance, whereas the Army forces bypassed it by going through the desert. But regardless of that, after you make a 250, 300-mile road march, you do have to reorganize a little bit. It's just a question of how long it takes and whether you have to announce it.
Let me ask you about that. 4 to 6 days, an unusually long time, short time, or normal time?
There's nothing normal or routine about it. I mean,
right. Okay.
We don't normally do 300-mile road marches through the desert like this and set up. I mean, this is an unusual operation.
I want to come back to this, but I want to lose Art Harris. Art is around the Battle of Nasiriyah, and we haven't heard from him in a couple of days now. It has been very nasty out there. Art, it's good to hear from you and report what you can.
Aaron, good to talk to you. We are on the edge of Nasiriyah, and all Israeli heavy artillery, gunships overhead, pounding Iraqi positions, and I'm also told that Marine infantry is moving in to secure the city. Been able to see explosions, and it's so close that the earth or the ground around us have been shaking from the heavy artillery, the pounding of 155 millimeter howitzers. It looks like it's part of the operation that was described to me yesterday by the operations of Colonel Ford Task Force Taro, that they were going to be moving in, and the city would be more secure in the coming days. I asked him how secure was secure, and he said, well, did you go down Ambush Alley? And they down it twice and been shot at both times. And I said, well, can you go down Ambush Alley without being shot at? And he said, well, yesterday the general did, and he didn't get shot at. So he is thinking that things will be more secure in the coming days, and this morning is an indication that they are moving to do just that. Aaron?
And the last couple of days have been like what? Has it been intense or sporadic? What has it been like?
It's been sporadic. There have you can hear the helicopter gunships overhead right now. The Cobra's coming in close and low to hit enemy positions or Iraqi positions. But the Marine infantry and light armored vehicles have been patrolling sectors, going out a little farther each day into areas where they believe Iraqis have stashed weapons in fields. They've been finding mortar positions, machine guns. In one area, Aaron, they found a treasure trove of intelligence information dug up under some boards at an artillery position, and found hundreds of pictures and identification of specific Iraqi soldiers, along with code books and other material they believe will be very valuable. In fact, they were so excited about it. I'm with a light armored reconnaissance unit that turned the information over. They gave the men goldfish and other goodies.
My goodness. Yeah. Art, how aware are you at any given moment of what's going on a mile away or 5 miles away?
Well, I've been lucky enough to be close to one of the military headquarters here. We also have radios. I'm able to hear over the net. I'm able to debrief officers when they come back from missions, and the men. I've been with them the night before last when we were in a 2-hour firefight on the bridge here that wound up to be a miracle that no one was hurt or no one was killed. It turned out to be at least initially an engagement between U.S. Marines and Iraqis, and it turned into a nasty fight between Marines, between friendly forces who were near each other. So I am in the thick of it, but also able to pull back and get an overview when I can get to headquarters or get to a radio. Aaron?
Art, just stay with us for a second. This is from Baghdad down. You can see that's the contrails from an airplane, or well, probably an airplane, isn't it, General? Might be a missile. Hard to know.
Hard to know. I mean, usually an airplane, you're going to see a straight contrail. It looks more like a missile or something.
Thank you. And in any case, that's what the Al Jazeera camera was showing as it pans back. Art, what can you tell us of casualties in this fight that has been going on now for several days?
Aaron, as far as casualties, several, more than 20 Marines were wounded not 2 nights ago, but that is the extent that I know about. There have been no casualties among Marines in the last day and a half that I know. I need to check on that. But as far as Iraqis, I asked the task force. They are not keeping body counts. They believe how well they are doing, because they say the Iraqis remove. That is not a fair indication of how the battle actually go. It is a difficult thing to measure.
And Art, I want to take you all the way back to the beginning here, and just because you're breaking up a little bit, explain to the viewers now sort of the unit you're with and what they are doing now and what their expectation is for the next 24 hours or so.
In North Carolina, they are fast-moving, 8-wheeled vehicles with 25mm cannon, 7.62 machine guns, mortars, and anti-tank missiles. And they travel in packs or in pairs. And they have been going out and providing security for Marine infantry around Nasiriyah. They have been going across the bridges to make sure they are open. And we are on the outskirts now to provide perimeter security, as well as going out into Nasiriyah and the surroundings with infantry to cover them as they go into the fields to look for mortar positions, and into the buildings in town now to try to rout out some of the Fedayeen they believe are hiding there and wearing civilian clothes. It's part of a joint arms attack right now with Cobra gunships. We've got some LAVs, light armored vehicles, in the city covering, as I said, Marines going door to door. And they are here because they are much more agile than tanks, not as well protected, but they can get to places quickly and get out quickly if they run up against a superior force. Aaron?
Art, thank you. Art Harris, it's good to hear from you after so many days. We look forward to seeing the pictures you're able to get out of there, hopefully soon. Art Harris is embedded with the Marines around Nasiriyah. Many of you may have tuned in at the top of the hour. We'll try and give you a broad look at where the day has gone, and we'll move on from there. On day 9 of the war, there was combat across the breadth of the theater, as convoys and supply lines continued to stretch for hundreds of miles. About 40% of the country, according to the Pentagon, is now under coalition control. But the Secretary of Defense said another country, Syria, was shipping critical equipment, night vision goggles, across the border to the Iraqis.
We consider such trafficking as hostile acts and will hold the Syrian government accountable for such shipments.
The Syrians vigorously deny it. Inside Iraq, American units surrounding Baghdad seem to be settling in, setting the force in the military's term. The Army's 3rd Infantry and the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force are positioned near Karbala, 50 miles south of the Iraqi capital. The 101st Airborne is to the west of that, and nearly 200 American helicopters are bringing in scores of foot soldiers as reinforcements for what's expected to be a huge and critical battle with Iraq's Republican Guard.
This is a airfield that has only been taken over for a few days, but already it is quickly sprouting into what is going to become a major operation.
To help mitigate thinly stretched supply lines, the Air Force has taken control of airfields deep inside of Iraq, bases from where resupply will be easier. In the air, American units work day and night, as CNN's Ryan Chilcote reported.
The 101st Airborne just executed its first deep attack. It used its Apache attack helicopters, specifically the Apache Longbow helicopters, sent dozens of these helicopters southwest of Baghdad.
Some Iraqis are welcoming the Americans, but the assaults against American and British troops by Iraqi guerrilla forces continue unabated. CNN's Alessio Vinci is near the embattled city of Nasiriyah, where the price of war is starkly clear.
Hostilities in Nasiriyah prevented the Marines from recovering the bodies of their fallen comrades earlier.
And Alex Perry of Time magazine talked to a local commander near Nasiriyah who summed up the new American attitude.
One commander addressing his men yesterday, his instructions to his men were, if you see an Iraqi civilian coming towards you, even if he's just waving a stick, shoot it.
Death was present in Baghdad as well. Al Jazeera Television broadcast the aftermath of what the Iraqi government claims was an American air attack on a residential neighborhood. More than 50 civilians, according to Baghdad, were killed. Overnight, the explosions continued. Meantime, far to the south in Basra, there were reports from the British that Iraqi Fedayeen had fired mortar rounds on refugees trying to flee the city. And protected by commandos, the supply ship Galahad finally docked in the port of Qasr, bringing badly needed stockpiles of food and water intended for the civilian population. And in Kuwait City, a missile that went undetected by the country's air defense system exploded near one of the city's upscale shopping malls. Only one injury, no one badly hurt, some physical damage though, but more damage perhaps to the Kuwaiti state of mind. The broad look at the day as it unfolded. The day is unfolding Saturday morning in Baghdad. You see smoke in the sky, either a missile contrail or perhaps a plane, and less likely, General Clark says. As we go along, we'll fill in some of the puzzle pieces of the day, successes and difficulties, and reporting now that for perhaps the next few days at least, stopping down to resupply the push to Baghdad. The Al Jazeera anchorman gets his moment. Our coverage continues in a bit.
This is crabgrass. I don't want to see crabgrass in my lawn.
My wife actually hates crabgrass.
Nobody would want this in their lawn. We put down Scott's turf builder with Holtz in the early spring.
That's the only thing I ever use. Scott's puts this protective barrier over the lawn.
And it stops the crabgrass from germinating.
See how nice and thick that is?
Feels like the carpet inside my house. Well, I've used the cheap brands, and it's like anything else. You get what you pay for. Steve doesn't have any crabgrass, which makes him a good human being, basically. Turf builder with Holtz.
The best defense against crabgrass.
Northland's 100% juice.
Northland Cranberry Grape has the refreshing goodness of 4 times as much cranberry juice as their cran grape juice drink.
And Northland is refreshing.
Northland 100% juice. Northland 100% juice, 100% refreshing.
You decided. Once again, CNN is #1. For trust and experience, Americans choose CNN as the most credible news source. CNN is the most trusted name in news.
Well, one of the things we've tried to do is bring as many reporters into the mix each night, each morning as we can. We're especially pleased to have Jack Kelly with us, foreign correspondent for USA Today. He's in Kuwait City, and Mr. Kelly has written a number of fascinating pieces in the build-up to the war. And I'll admit, Jack, I haven't seen much of the paper since, so we're just glad to have you with us. The last piece I saw that you wrote was how that there was an operation in place to find Saddam Hussein and take him out. Have you been able to do any more reporting on that?
Yeah, pretty much at this time, most of the U.S. intelligence officials say that President Saddam is most likely in one of his underground bunkers, going back and forth by a series of tunnels to other bunkers. But the most important thing was that he appears to be in control of the country's military response. So although there have been reports that he's been injured, possibly even dead, he's very much in charge at this point.
And are these special forces people still in the country, still looking for an opportunity, or have they been extracted now?
No, most of the Delta Force officials are still there. At this point, they are hoping that President Saddam will make some kind of error, some kind of mistake, either travel outside of one of the bunkers so that they can possibly find him, or that one of the CIA's assets within the country, we understand that they have recruited one of President Saddam's somebody from his inner circle who appears to know where President Saddam sleeps and often goes. They're kind of hoping he'll tip them off to some more information.
Have you been able to do any reporting on the missile attack that first night that started the whole operation?
We've done some. We found out that it was pretty much one of the CIA's assets within the country who observed President Saddam and his 2 sons going into a bunker, and they also say that when the missile hit, that President Saddam was actually inside, and that the asset actually recorded and possibly even took pictures of somebody on a stretcher being carried out with an IV into that person. They aren't certain if that was President Saddam or one of his sons, but they are certain that he was inside and that something did happen.
I mean, this is fascinating detail. Is this asset, as the CIA refers to him, still providing information according to the people you're talking to?
He's still providing information, but one of the things that the federal government has attempted on and failed, we understand, was that there's been a great effort to try to spam some of the country's military generals, some of the intelligence officials, to try to get them to lay down their arms before the fight actually begins. They've even sent text messages on their cell phones saying, look, lay down your arms, give up, and we'll give you some kind of chance in the next government. If you don't, we'll kill you. That effort apparently is not going as well as they had anticipated.
Has it borne any fruit at all?
It's borne some fruit. It's borne this member of the inner circle. But what many of the intelligence officials say was that they're being told by many of the generals basically to bug off, that we're in support of President Saddam and our intention is fight right to the very end.
And in that regard, they must be surprised, because there's certainly in the buildup, as you know, there was this sense that given an opportunity, there'd be a lot of surrenders, and that this would go a little bit cleaner than it has.
Yeah, many of the Pentagon officials and intelligence officials, I think, are kind of scratching their head at this point, saying, why isn't this going as fast as we thought? There was some speculation that the entire thing could be over within 2 weeks. Everybody's now talking months instead.
Jack, Wes Clark, General Wes Clark is with us. Let me draw him in to the conversation. Anything you want to ask or throw out in this conversation here?
How do you feel that we're doing in terms of being able to get other information out of Baghdad on the locations of forces and the movement of key assets beyond the key leadership? Any sense for that?
Well, what's interesting here was that besides many of the satellite photos and the intercepts being done, the Jordanians, the Australians, and several other countries have intelligence assets and their own special forces inside of the country. And Jordan has provided some of the most specific information on President Saddam's, on his condition, on his whereabouts, and other things. So there are lots of different assets coming in. It's just a matter of having real-time or actionable intelligence, and at this point they're not sure how much they really have.
Jack, obviously without talking about the kind of sources that you're working with here, are you finding that your sources are more or less willing to talk these days now that the war is in fact on?
They're willing to share bits and pieces. The problem is here was that making phone calls, because they know that everybody listens to everybody else. So they're willing to share somewhat, but within the last couple days, when Pentagon officials began to scratch their heads and say, why aren't things going maybe as well as we thought, there's some hesitancy at this point. I'm still hoping that they'll talk, though.
Reporters are always hoping that. Is it just generally, people are generally willing to say, at least off the record or on background, that things aren't going as well as they thought without putting their name on it? Is that much being said?
Well, pretty much so. They'll talk with an understanding that it's to their benefit. When it's not to their benefit, it's so much more difficult to get information out. So now I expect over the next couple weeks to probably be getting less information, because the general consensus was that we can't find him, things aren't going as fast as we'd like. So I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to get people to open up. In the back of everybody's mind is the Osama bin Laden problem. We thought that we could find Osama. In this case, they think they can find President Saddam, but that it's going to be much more difficult than they had anticipated.
General Clark, a question or comment?
Well, this is as close as we're coming to getting real-time intelligence on the war from any of these sources here. And so, my question is, how do the people who are there giving you this information, you say they're giving it because it's in their advantage. What have they said about the understanding of the Fedayeen early and Saddam's control on his generals, which has led to the unexpected resistance?
What they're saying is that over the last couple of days, most of the U.S. intelligence officials and Pentagon officials say that President Saddam has established much more control over his generals, over his army, and with some of these paramilitary forces, as they're being called, I think there's almost a state of shock, because they said, we have prepared for a certain kind of enemy within the country, and we're now being faced with some of these paramilitaries controlled by one of President Saddam's sons, and they're much more intense, much more vicious than we ever thought. So the enemy that they prepared for is not necessarily the enemy that they're facing on the ground.
Jack, it's good to finally talk to you. We've been trying to track you down for a while. Thank you very much. Jack Kelly, whose byline you'll find in USA Today, and has done some terrific work. We take a break, and our coverage continues in a moment.
the dangers coalition troops face as they await their next orders on the next American Morning, CNN Tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart is the place to start creating a space just for you. Holidays behind, spring ahead. Think reading corner or a new office armoire just for you. With any of our large selection of all wood bookshelves, computer desks, chairs, entertainment centers, there is a corner in your house that can be used in a new and different way. We have what you need, whether it's for cookbooks, computers, or TV, right here, right now. Don't wait until yard work beckons. Come to Unfinished Furniture Megamart and make a space for you.
Unfinished Furniture Megamart. Naturally smart.
Star-powered and celebrity-driven, TV Guide gives you a 24/7 look at what's tops on TV. Order now, and you'll get the 50 all-time favorite TV-themed CD free with your paid subscription. Get 38 issues of TV Guide magazine for just 4 easy payments of $9.97. Plus, use your credit card and you'll get a second gift free, the Big Book of TV Guide crosswords. Call now for the best TV magazine ever. TV Guide, 1-800-495-3291.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
I'm Darren Kagan, live in Kuwait City with the latest developments on this Saturday morning here in Kuwait. We want to show you a live picture of Baghdad. That is where several large blasts have been heard this morning. Farther south, Kuwait City, where I am, has also felt the sting of war. An Iraqi missile has gotten through anti-missile defenses and damaged a shopping mall. CNN has identified it as a Chinese-made seersucker missile. No warning sirens were heard here in Kuwait City before the strike, which caused heavy damage at a shopping mall. 2 people did suffer minor injuries in that attack. More U.S. Marines have landed in the Persian Gulf. About 2,000 Marines arrived in Kuwait on Friday to join U.S. forces already involved in the war in Iraq. The 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit spent time in Europe and Africa before coming to the Gulf. The Army's Walter Reed Hospital has received its first injured troops from Iraq. 5 soldiers arrived Friday at the medical center in Washington. Doctors refused to discuss the nature of their injuries. Reassuring words on Friday from President Bush, he told a veterans group that steady progress is being made in the war in Iraq and that Iraq's leadership has lost control of much of their country. The president also accused the Iraqi military of atrocities. There might be some financial help for ailing airlines. Senate Republicans say they will put together an aid package that would provide as much as $2 billion. That money would help pay for reinforced cockpit doors and other mandated security, as well as a limited extension of war risk insurance. And with that, we'll toss it back to Aaron at CNN Global Headquarters in Atlanta. Aaron?
Darren, thank you very much. Newspapers out yet?
I do have both newspapers for you whenever you're ready.
I'll take them right now.
Okay, just very quickly to answer your question. No news of the missile attack that hit here in Kuwait City, making this. It's bombs, and more bombs from the Kuwait Times.
It was about.
The picture is very much.
I'm sorry. It was It was about 2 in the morning when the missile hit Kuwaiti time.
1:30. About 1:30.
Yeah.
So it probably passed this deadline. So not surprising that it did not make the headlines. And here's the Arab Times. On track to another Beirut. I think the theme of both papers is interesting. It's showing civilians and war coinciding, and how it's affecting, the battles are affecting Iraqi civilians. So there you have your morning papers from here in Kuwait City.
The Arab Times played the market bombing where 50-some people died in Baghdad as their lead story.
Actually, that's the Kuwait Times. Or here's the Arab Times.
Right.
Yeah, neither one of these. I'm sorry, did you say from Baghdad? I didn't hear you breaking up there.
I think I do have it.
Both are from both pictures are from in or around Basra, Aaron.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Darren Kagan is in Kuwait. Jane Arraf is in the. Oh, before I go to Jane, one quick question, General, because this came up in one of the in talking with the Boston Globe in bed. You had his Marine unit was down to 1 meal a day, 1 MRE a day. Is that unusual?
It's unusual for mounted warfare like this. You wouldn't expect to have that happen. On the other hand, you know, for a day or two, you get by. I mean, that's the way we do it in Ranger School. We live for a week or two on one meal a day, you can do that.
Okay, and it just, so it's not, because I think I reacted to it, I suspect many viewers did, these guys are out there getting shot at, it's a lot of trouble, and they're hungry too.
Well, they're probably eating every piece of the MRE rather than just the pieces they like the best.
Got it. Jane Arraf is in the northern part of Iraq where the paratroopers have come in to set their northern front to begin that process. That's advanced quite a lot in the last couple of days. Jane, good morning to you.
Hi, Aaron. We're here at the edge of the airfield. It's called the Harir Airfield, and it is what is expected to be perhaps a forward operating base. And now you can see it behind me slowly taking shape. Essentially what's happened has been pretty dramatic. A very dramatic airdrop 2 days ago with 1,000 troops from the Army 173rd Airborne Division parachuting out of the sky. They essentially landed in the mud, and they have been sleeping in the mud. There was frost on the ground this morning, but over the past couple of nights, transport planes have been coming in under the cover of darkness and bringing in things like food, water, tents. You can see some of the tents off in the distance beneath the hills. They've set up a logistics tent. They've got other tents up there. They're bringing in armored vehicles. There's a helicopter there that has carried in troops, and it's big enough to carry in armored vehicles as well. And they are continuing to build up what they say will be a robust force. Now, it's unclear yet essentially what they will do with this force. It seems to be undetermined according to unofficials, but they could do a few things. They could move out of here to secure the northern oil fields of Kirkuk and the major city of Mosul, or they could, as British defense officials are starting to suggest, just beef up the Kurdish forces. They are working in conjunction with Kurdish militia here who have been waiting a long, long time for this to happen, this taking shape behind us. Aaron?
Is there a constant activity there, Jane? Planes coming in constantly, or is it just sporadic at this point?
Well, they come in at night. They still consider this hostile territory, even though they are working in Kurdish-controlled territory, which couldn't be more welcoming. In fact, some of the soldiers we talked to yesterday said children here were actually giving them flowers. But in terms of the operations, they are keeping, obviously, they're keeping very alert. They've secured the perimeter with troops, and they're bringing in the supplies, the transport planes, under the cover of Narctis. They fly in with very little lights. They unload in the darkness. The people are probably wearing night scope goggles to be able to see, but they're trying to keep as low a profile as possible. In the daytime, you can see just right now vehicles going down, American armored vehicles, personnel carriers, as well as these jeeps and other vehicles, as well as a lot of Kurdish vehicles going in and out, an indication that they are working very closely with the Kurdish forces. And again, one of the main aims here is to make sure that the Kurds don't do anything on their own, that they do act in conjunction with the U.S. Aaron?
Jane, thank you. Jane Arraf, who's in northern Iraq tonight. General, a quick sentence, standard operating procedure, do this business at night?
Come in at night. It depends really on what your size of your marshalling area is on the airfield as to how many aircraft you can get on the ground. But that's the key variable. We don't know that right there. It sounds like they're bringing, maybe one in an hour or so. So it's going to be a robust force. It's not being built up as fast as if we were taking greater risks with it, but that's the commander's call.
The commander of the region, or is that, when you say the commander?
Probably decided by the air component commander for CENTCOM, who's looking at the overall risks and evaluating whether he wants to take a chance on an aircraft. And the answer usually is no. So
don't take
it's very
risk.
Cautious, exactly.
Because there's no hurry.
Right,
in their view, there's no hurry. Aside from defeating this regime of Saddam Hussein, one of the key missions obviously spelled out by the United States and its allies is to get humanitarian aid in. This has become especially crucial in the southern part of the country. ITN, British networks correspondent Romilly Weeks was in the town of Al-Zubar for the last several days as food was handed out, and it was quite a scene.
In Al-Zubar now there's a feeling that the tanks are bringing more than just destruction. Over 1,000 turned up as the army brought in relief supplies into what's still a fragile situation.
When we first got here, that we faced a serious problem of fighting against the militia. And clearly the source of food and water that the regime had been providing of a sort was then cut off. So the aim now is to get the town back on its feet as quickly as possible.
Under the shadow of the tank's gun turrets, the soldiers tried to create orderly queues. On previous occasions, it had been something of a free-for-all.
The distribution system is running quite smoothly today. Everybody is getting bottles of water, a box of rations and baby food. It's difficult to ensure that those who need it most are getting the aid, but it is a start.
What do you need?
Today there were people in desperate need. This 6-month-old baby was burned in a domestic fire 2 days ago. All that time the parents had looked for a doctor. Now they'd found one.
It's obviously very upsetting for all involved, you know, the parents as well, and to have that baby like that for 2 days, you know, it's very upsetting.
This humanitarian operation is intended to be a stopgap until the aid agencies can return. In the long term, the people here need more than the army can give. But today, they got something. Romilly Woods, ITV News in southern Iraq.
And our coverage continues after a short break.
Victories are personal. Achieve new balance.
You know, we're never in the same place at the same time. No, not really. So we need a plan that allows us to talk, you know, as much as we want, all the time, whenever we want. And then no extra charge.
With Cingular's Family Talk plan, call each other for free with unlimited mobile-to-mobile calling. Get 5,000 night and weekend minutes to share, up to 3 additional lines, and up to 4 free phones.
We call it the Conley Brothers. What's up? What's up? What's up plan?
Come in and find out how Cingular fits you best.
Because things are changing so fast, trust CNN. With more frontline reporters, experts who have been there, and the most experienced journalists. Because you need all the facts. Stay with CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Saturday morning in Baghdad, after a difficult night for the residents of that city, how much damage and specifically what was damaged will await the CENTCOM briefing as the satellites pass overhead, see through the smoke. They figure out, the coalition figures out what it hit, what the condition of what it hit is, but we can tell you the explosion, whatever it was enormous at around 3 in the morning Baghdad time, Saturday morning in the Iraqi capital. We're joined now from Washington by Mark Kagan. Mr. Kagan is an analyst at the of international strategy, specializes in defense in the Mideast. He's currently with the DC-based International Strategic Studies Association. Nice to see you. Welcome to the program. We appreciate it. Thank you. Do you think that, you know, there's been, Mark, a lot of hand-wringing, it seems to me, over the last couple of days about how this thing has gone. Do you think it's all overblown?
To a certain extent. I mean, when you compare how many casualties there have been and how much progress the British and American forces have made, yes, it has been overblown, and I think part of that is simply because the coverage of this conflict has been absolutely unprecedented. And I mean, the image of a field correspondent in the field dialing home for a wounded soldier right there in the field so he could talk with his mother is just absolutely amazing, and everything else is amplified and magnified in that sense.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting problem. I mean, this is sort of off the point of this discussion, but General Clark and I were talking a while ago about you try and set the context for things, you try and keep things in perspective, but the power of any individual picture, any individual moment, just blows the context off the screen.
I absolutely agree. For me, watching this, it's just absolutely amazing to see all this going on. And at the same time, as you say, I think the word context is very important, because people who are viewing this are seeing very powerful images, and it's out of context. You see soldiers, you see battles, you hear the battles, you see people in the streets, and you don't necessarily know what's going on outside of that camera. And yet at the same time, this is combat in a way that covering the Vietnam War never was.
Let's try and put some context back in, and then it'll probably get blown off the screen by a picture shortly, but we could at least make the college try. The Iraqi army that's out there is, we all were led to believe, less strong, in many ways less well equipped than the one that the coalition faced in '91. What's your take?
Well, it depends on what you mean by we were all led along in that sense. In fact, the Iraqi army was much, much weaker and smaller than the one in 1991, but you also have to remember that the Iraqi army in 1991 was subjected to 6 weeks of unprecedented, well, I wouldn't necessarily say unprecedented, but tremendous hammering from bombing and missiles. That was not the case here. Second of all, that was ignoring what actually happened with the Republican Guard in the Gulf War, who fought well. They didn't have the skills and the equipment to fight or overcome the Allied forces, but they fought well when you can compare them to what the rest of the Iraqi army did. And they were just overwhelmed by overpowering force at that time. They're not just going to crumple and flee the field, and I don't think that's going to happen in the upcoming battle with Baghdad.
And in this case, there is not the same overwhelming force in the field on the coalition side.
No. I believe that the coalition forces are about half of what they were in 1991, and they're just, with that, there's all the equipment. Part of the reason for this, of course, is the coalition that existed in 1991 doesn't exist today. Part of that has to do with the doctrine that the Pentagon is following at this time, where Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld wants to have a leaner, meaner, more mobile force and believes that it can do more with less. In a sense, this is putting theory into practice.
And is this then, this is the test of that theory? I mean, the Secretary of Defense had this theory that this is sort of remaking the Army or the armed services for the 21st century. We're pretty early in the century, but is this the test of that?
To a certain extent, but you also have to realize that the Iraqis may not necessarily want to make the same test or go through the same test that the U.S. wants them to go through.
Well, that seems pretty clear at this point, doesn't it? I mean, they seem to be fighting a fight that the Americans fought in 1968 or in Somalia.
In Somalia, definitely. In 1968, maybe less so, but there is one very strong parallel between now and 1968, where the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong were fighting a war for world opinion, and that's definitely what Saddam Hussein is fighting. He's fighting for the Arab world, for the Muslim world, for the Third World, and he's also fighting to show the Iraqi people that he's still there, and as long as he's still there, people are going to be very, very, very careful about showing support for anything that the Americans and the British do, even if we put aside the fact that there is a natural patriotism among the Iraqis that's been aroused. That happened in the Soviet Union when the Germans invaded in 1941. Even though the Russians hated Stalin, who is almost a father figure to Saddam, and there's also the fact that the Iraqis just don't like foreigners.
Right. It's a complicated field of play. Mark, it's nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your waiting around for us tonight in Washington. Thank you very much.